Everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 4 of season 2 of Psychopaths. And before I start, I want to say that I only have one comment to talk about this week because the mods and I have talked about it, and there is still a lot of spoiler talk. So, just to clarify, here's my spoiler rules. If you want me to read your comment on Psychopaths, here's what you got to do. First, you cannot talk about stuff that's going to happen in future episodes. Obviously, I'm going to find out. I'm going to watch it. 2, I don't want to know your opinions about seasons as a whole until the end of the season. So the mods, anytime a person's like, well, I don't like season 2, but I like the other seasons, I don't want to know that because I'm having a great time with season 2. I don't want to know your opinions about the seasons as a whole until the end of the season. So there's that. 3, I don't want you to clarify or correct me on things yet. I like mystery shows because they are mysteries. And as we're only on episode 4, there's 12 or 11 episodes in the season. I'm going to probably figure out things. I'm pretty smart. I'm going to probably figure out things as we go. And I'm not meaning to toot my own horn, but your girl's been to grad school. She'll probably figure it out as we go. And also, when you were watching the show for the first time, you might not have figured stuff out until the very end of the season when it's all revealed. So I want to have that same experience. But a lot of times people in comments, they're like, well, just so you know, this is happening. And I'm like, no. I want to find out for myself at the very end of the season. Keep yourself a Google Doc, keep yourself a little notepad of things that I may have been leaving out. And if I don't talk about it by the end of the season, you can write your novella, leave it there, and we'll talk about it there. But if you give me any clues, spoilers, hints, things about characters, then I just can't read your comment because I want to find out in the show, right? So most reactors don't read comments for this reason, but I'm trying to go above and beyond and read your comments and interact with you because I enjoy doing that. But I can't do that if you spoil me. So just a heads up, please don't do that. I won't read your comments because I don't want you to waste your time. I feel like the mods and I are like, there's some people that leave really long comments and I just can't read them because you're spoiling. So just don't do that, please. And then I'll be able to read your comments. We can talk about the show. It'll be great, right? We're having a lot of fun in the Discord. Everybody in the Discord has been super amazing. Like everyone in the Discord, they spoiler tag, but they share screenshots. We talk about the episodes themselves. I want to give a special shout out in that regard to Sunspots because they've been the moderator over there as well as Plore, and they have made sure that everybody's, kosher, and it's made for an amazing experience. Like I love talking in the Discord on Psychopaths on the channel because it's a lot of fun and it's really good to just fangirl and ship and have a good time with it. But with that being said, Melzim6033, they were talking at the end of season 1. They are kind of catching up with the episodes, but they were talking about how cool it was that the Sybil system is kind of like this newborn god, which is interesting, that's learning what's good and what's worthy and learning from Akane, which is fascinating because it's like this deity-like figure that believes it's omnipotent is learning from the mortal Akane, which is kind of crazy, right? Kind of crazy. And the fact that the Sybil system actually listens to Akane and evaluates her judgment kind of puts her on a pedestal, which in the last episode or 2, Akane's had like a lot of psychological, questioning of if she's sane or not. And it's like, no, I think Akane is sane. It's just how is this person, Kumai, getting past the Sybil system? How, the Sybil system we've found out is not infallible. It thinks that it is, but it's not. So how does Akane prove that she's innocent without calling out that she is connected to the Sybil system and knows all the secrets? It's just this very intricate, tangled web, and I'm really enjoying it. There was also a comment that was saying that, because I think I said that Kumai was gaslighting, like Shisui and stuff in the last episode, and the comment was like, oh, they're not gaslighting. They're just trying to indoctrinate and use Stockholm Syndrome. And I'm like, that's not better. It almost seemed like, and maybe I was reading it wrong. Maybe I was totally reading it wrong, but it sounded like they were saying it was okay that they were like sexually and emotionally assaulting Shisui by, indoctrinating and Stockholm syndroming in them, being like, oh, well, they have great ideas, so it's totally fine that they're doing this. No, it is not. I'm like, no, the fact that they were violating Shisui is disgusting. And that's the thing, like, whether you like Makishima or not as a villain, I loved him. He was a diva and he was just absolutely ridiculous, and bonkers in the best way. But, you know, he just came around. He was like, I'm just going to kill you. I'm not going to, you know, assault you necessarily. I'm just going to kill you. And I guess that's worse in a sense. But I never felt like I didn't get an ick factor with Makishima. I was like, oh, you're an over the top Moriarty type villain that thinks he's really posh and snobby and is trying to pass himself off as being a commoner. Okay, diva. Like, that's the vibe I got from Makishima. Kamui is creepy and icky. Kamui is disgusting. Like, he's very creepy and icky, and he just gives off that stalker vibe that I don't like at all. And maybe it's because I'm a woman, and that is a real fear in life. So there's that factor, but also, like, the fact that the worst type of villain, that's the scariest type of villain, is the one that thinks they're right when they are clearly in the wrong. And sure, Makishima and Kamui, they're saying some things that are true. Not going to deny that, but their methods of presenting that truth to the world are absolutely morally abhorrent. So, fun times. So this episode, last episode, everybody was suspicious. Togani is suspicious. He's apparently had the highest crime coefficient ever. How? I'm so curious. Our cross between Genju and Tsukishima from Bleach. I guess that would make sense if that were the case. So he's suspicious. Obviously, Kamui is suspicious. Poor Ayunagi, who is our Division 2 lady, she's being beaten up right now behind closed doors. And then Akane, we all know as the audience, Akane is probably okay, or maybe she's not. What if she ends up being crazy and we're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But I don't know. And then Mika is trying to make sense of it all, and Mika's kind of been resigned to the Ganosa role from season 1 as Ganosa is transferring his dadification and everything to the Masaoka role for season 2. I'm here for it. I can do, but yeah. So that was just like a little warning about spoilers, because I want to read everybody comment, and I felt bad because I can't the last couple weeks because there's been so many spoilers, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just send a reminder to please stop doing that, because I feel bad. People spend a lot of time crafting those comments, and then I'm like, I can't read it, so okay. But in any case, I'm excited. I hope you all are too. We're going to start episode 4 of season 2 of Psycho Pass, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, that was a mess. Oh my God, what even happened? Well, a lot of bloody stuff happened. Oh my God. This episode was hard, and Ayanagi. The moment that guy started killing people, and the moment that she was like, I can't not use the Dominator, like, girl, she, and the thing of it is, it's so frustrating, is that it wouldn't have mattered with the sniper rifle, which we'll talk about the sniper rifle. What the fudge? Oh my God. That just opens up a whole host of problems. So it wouldn't have mattered if she had killed him from the start. When they opened up those doors and her crime coefficient was high, it wouldn't have mattered. She still was going to get shot and killed regardless, even if she'd killed him. And he ended up dying anyway, which is really weird. That was the one aspect of the episode that I was like, oh, he ended up dying. Why? What ended up happening? So we're going to talk about that. That was the one aspect of the episode I was like, I don't know why he died, because apparently they shot at him. Was it delayed? What? Interesting. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that, because that was the only part of the episode that I was like, I don't quite understand. I obviously, don't tell me. Don't give me spoilers. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people, and this is not just for this series, but in other series, I think a lot of people hear me say like, well, I wonder if it's like this, or I wonder if it's like that. And in the comments they go, well, here's the answer. Whenever I'm theorizing like this and just positing things, I don't necessarily want an answer. I don't want anybody to comment and tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, throwing theories out there so you guys can see my train of thought, where my mind is throughout this. But I don't want to know if I'm right or wrong. I want to ride this series out, see if I find those answers. And if by the end of the season I'm like, I don't know if this got answered or not, then you can be like, okay, well, here's what's going on. But by that point, here's the thing. By that point, I will have found out probably, and then you won't have to type that comment. So that's kind of the goal, right? But we didn't talk about this episode. Togani is still suspicious. Togani is not letting Akane out of his sights. He's gotten a little sneakier about it this episode. He just casually is there. And it's like, okay. And he's kind of established himself in an interesting way. So let's put Togani up here, right? Okay, we're going to put Togani up here. And we're going to put Kamui over here. Because they seem to, it's interesting. They don't seem like they have connections, but they do. Because here's the thing. His family has, it's the Owl Pharmaceuticals, right? The Owl Pharma. They have the drugs that are managing Hughes. And we've talked in previous episodes about the idea that Sybil System would be all about this. Sybil System's like, oh, you mean we can manufacture drugs to get people's Hughes under control where they fall in line with the Sybil System? Why would we turn that down? That's a win-win situation for us, right? But the if factor, we're going to talk about this urban legend. The way that Hinakawa reacted to that line, I was like, ooh, there's something there. We're gonna go with that. So the urban legend of the deficiency. The deficiency, or I'm gonna call it the Hugh sickness. Makishima and them talked about it last season. We're gonna come back to that, right? And that there's a possibility the side effect is leading to that happening. We got some confirmation about that this episode. I was like, okay, that connects some things. So Kamui seems like he very much wants to take out the Owl Pharma. So that would instantly make Togani have a connection to him. If Togani feels like he's like, oh, well, I think that that's a problem, so we need to take care of that. Hold on. Get my marker cap here. If Togani was like, well, I don't want my family's business to go under, and Kamui is actively trying to stop that, then that's a problem. And we know that Togani may have come to that logical conclusion because the pharma was the source of the bombing, was the target of the bombing. So Togani might be like, if Togani is as Sherlocky and Kogami-like as he claims to be, or is trying to be, then yeah, that would make sense. So, but not only that, Kamui is not only trying to take out the Owl Pharma, he's also trying to dismantle Sybil, just like Makishima was doing, just through a very different mean. And we're going to talk about that in this episode, a very different mean. There's similarities and there's differences. So yeah, Togani clearly has a stake to be working with the Sybil system like Akane is. So that whole image of the OP of him being tied to the Sybil system makes sense. Is there possibly more to it? Probably, but we don't know exactly what it is yet, and I'm going to sit on my hands and wait till we find out. But yeah, Kamui clearly has, he likes using hollows and using that tech to fool the system, and is just very, what's interesting is that Kamui seems okay with collaborating continuously. He seems fine with that because he asks the older man to come with him, and the old man says no. Now, whether that was a rhetorical question or not, I don't know. Makishima, other than Cho, didn't seem interested in working with other people. He seemed like he got bored with them and then just like got done with them and moved on. So I don't know, but let's talk about this episode. God, what a bloodbath. Just absolutely insane. So there's like all these levels with what's going on. So Shizui, as far as we know, was not there. That was a setup. Shizui was never there. Kamui was there, but Kamui was there as the guy behind the counter. The fudge! So he was there as the guy behind the counter working and letting the man get what he wanted. And it makes sense now because I was like, why would the one guy with the dog let this random attendant watch her? Because wouldn't you assume that they might turn on you and try to use a nail gun against you? Wouldn't you assume that would be the case? But he trusted that man because he knew that wasn't going to happen, right? Because he knew it was Kamui the whole time. It was a setup. He knew it was him. He had him watch her, and then she talked him into thinking that she was in control of the situation when she wasn't. Oh my God. Yeah. genius. It just and they played on the idea of her personality and how she is, and whether they found that out from Shisui or had been documenting her and watching her. Oh, because we're gonna talk about this. So Ayanagi, R.I.P. Ayanagi, Division 3, which we're gonna talk about them. I'm glad we're getting other divisions involved and getting to see what they look like. And then Mika. Oh man, Mika girl. Mika's getting her worldview like I feel like a come to Jesus meeting with Mika is on the horizon. I feel like whether it's Kunazuka or Hinakawa kind of had a moment where he was like, I feel like Hinakawa might have a talk with her, but I feel like Mika's going to have a come to Jesus moment real soon where she's going to figure out that, yeah, girl, the way you think is not exactly how it goes. And Ayanagi sadly learned that lesson the hard way. And Division 3, we're going to talk about them, but oh man. Can I say one thing though? The dog design is freaking adorable. I love the dog design. Can we talk about that? I like the idea that it looks like, do you guys remember those little robot dogs that you'd purchase that as a kid, they were like the little robo dogs? It was basically designed if you couldn't have a pet in your house, you could have this little robo dog and it would like do things and like bark and you could take it on walks and stuff. It looks exactly like that. All I could think of is being like, damn. Also, this is kind of strange, but I kind of almost want them to exist in real life for senior citizens. I was thinking about that through the episode. I was like, wow, on the one hand, it could malfunction. You don't want this dog to attack people. Absolutely not. But I was like, what if they had like a little robot dog that was an oxygen tank and could walk along with the senior citizen and be like, like a companion kind of. I don't know. I was like, there's actually some functionality to this that would be kind of practical. But, instead of you just lugging around an oxygen tank, it's a little dog. I thought that would be really handy. Would I, as an old woman, like a little robot dog to follow me around and have my oxygen? Sure. Yeah, I'd be fine with it. If it could attack, and you know what? If it could attack people and it was a defense dog, I'm not against this idea. Oh my God. But yeah, I wondered, because we saw the older man getting the oxygen, if by chance that was going to become a plot point where the dog would be taken out and his oxygen source would be taken out and that would be it. Seems to be the case. Now, if his lack of oxygen had to do with him blowing up, I don't know. Or if Kamui had a fail-safe in case if somebody tried to betray them, I don't know. Also, the fact that the dog has a taser in it, I mean, self-defense, y'all. Self-defense is important. But that's interesting because the dog having the taser, that wouldn't seem to be something that the Sybil system would allow. So that's clearly been a modification that Kamui has given him with the dog, right? And so, yeah, him standing up on the desk and talking about the medicine modulating their hues and draining them what makes them feel alive. And then, of course, yep, there's the guy there watching. And he takes out the camera. Yeah, clearly that's the problem, taking out the camera. So yeah, so let's talk about this guy here. The guy, up until he gets to the interrogation room where they can document him and film him, he is going on this tangent up until then. He's like, if you help me, he's like, I'll put in a good word for you at the Ministry of Welfare. I like how Hinakawa's head's down, like listening throughout all of this. What's good to know is that Hinakawa, Ganosa, Togani, Kunazuka, they are all witnessing these things that Akane is witnessing and seeing these people be crazy and then seeing them transition back to being like acting like nothing's wrong. And so I feel like it's going to help them support Akane more because she's not like the only one taking crazy pills, or so she thinks. So there's that. The one question is like, how is Sybil's system reacting to all this? And he's like, just calling Kamui already. Please bring Representative Masuda to me. Okay, and I'll handle the situation. Yeah, I like Akane's like, yeah, bring this guy to me and I'm going to interrogate him. And so Mika. What gets me is that Mika, she, even back with, and I guess that's the whole situation, Ganosa back in season 1 kind of gave Akane the benefit of the doubt a lot because he had this faith in her and he wanted to believe in her and believe in her justice. But because Mika does not believe in her justice and does not want to have faith in her, she's kind of separated herself from Akane and is not trying to support her necessarily. I do like that Mika challenges Akane. She doesn't just fall in line and let her do what she wants. She does challenge her logically, but then Mika makes some big mistakes this episode, and they are costly mistakes. And I'm like, oh, girl, ooh, this is going to have ramifications. This is going to have some backlash to it. But yeah, she's like, you just want to investigate him instead of somebody who doubts Kamui, right? And I like that Akane's like, really, bitch? She's like, we should question him based on the evidence. We were the ones left at the scene of the crime. You know, we're the ones left in charge of this. And Mika agrees with it. Here's one thing about Ganosa I really like. Even when he's in enforcer mode, he still keeps the suit and tie, like, prim and proper. He's not totally gone Masaoka and Kogami, where he's, like, letting it all be loose and shaggy. He's keeping his dress, right? And Ganosa kind of goes the L route, where he's like, look, I don't think this is a coincidence, but we need hard evidence. If we are going to get people to get on our side, and if we're going to get your name cleared, we need some concrete evidence to back ourselves, or we're just running in circles and nothing's getting accomplished. And I'm glad Ganosa's keeping a level head, right? It's funny, Ganosa has a more level head now that he's an enforcer than he ever did as an inspector. And I guess that's kind of saying something to the point of the series, right? If you're an enforcer, you kind of get to act like yourself, and you kind of like don't have to worry about the crime coefficient anymore, because as long as, you know, you do your job, you're somewhat safe. So, but yeah, when Shield brings up this idea of, do you think someone could squeeze into this crawl space? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, ma'am. I believe so. I believe that little sweater vest wearing twink could do it. I absolutely think that. Yes, he could absolutely crawl in that. And they even have like the little space to show that it's physically possible for someone to fit in there. Yeah. And so, yeah, and then Togani is just like, well, actually, if we think about this logically, it's 2 kilometers away from the crime scene. It would be out of range, out of sight, out of mind. And Ganosa's like, well, the drones can malfunction, so it's not to say that it's impossible. But, you know, if a human tampered with it, there should be a record. And I like that Akane's like, well, then, okay, there has to be a log somewhere. And again, Ganosa's like, look, you're sticking with the assumption that he exists. And I do get where Ganosa's coming from, where he's like, you do realize this is very Kogami-like. Your hue could get clouded. And she's like, oh, you're still on about that. But I like that Akane's like, look, this assumption's all we have to go off of. It's the only thing we have. And unless we just make this a cold case and we just assume that there's nowhere to go with it and we just idly sit by and let nothing happen, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to work with. She's like, I'm not just gonna, she's like, why? She's like, are you not gonna explore this under that premise? And Ganosa's like, no, I'm gonna play along until you're satisfied. I'll keep going with it, but I'm just keeping you in check about that. She's like, this was clearly calculated. Like, we're just left trying to dig up some definitive proof while he's out there or something's out there making its next move. She's like, there's no doubt in my mind he does exist. Yeah. And then we have the OP. I mean, girl's got good intuition, right? Girl has got some intuition. I like seeing the one guy from Division 2 with the alien ant farm jacket. I like seeing him work with Shion. I'm glad that he's still around. I mean, he was left for dead back in season 1, right? Or beginning part of this season. So I'm glad that, again, it was the beginning part of the season. I'm glad he's still around. That's good to note. Yeah, and Shion's like, well, this doesn't exactly fit the bill. So then we have this other guy there talking about the stress levels. And here's the thing. Where we have the enforcers too. We're going to put the enforcers down here as well. The enforcers, they got nothing to lose in this scenario, right? They don't have to act on anything. They are just waiting for orders, right? That's kind of their thing. And what was interesting was the one enforcer, who's a latent, these are all latent criminals, by the way, they're all from different walks of life. The one latent criminal with the red buzz cut, or the brunette buzz cut, he kind of seemed kind of excited that things were getting out of hand. He had a very Sasayama vibe to him, where he was like, oh, things are getting out of hand, huh? People are getting their stress raised, huh? We might have to kill somebody, huh? He was giving me very Sasayama vibes. And we've seen with the enforcers that they're kind of a mixed bag of people like Kagari, R.I.P., that, you know, was just a latent criminal from his childhood, or people like Kogami, who was put in a stressful situation and could never recover from it, or people like Sasayama, who, as far as we know, was a latent criminal, just really good at being an enforcer. So they have nothing to lose in this scenario. They just have to wait for orders anyway, and they're just kind of like, you know, it's sort of like another series I'm watching called 86, where there are some characters in that series that are kind of pushed up against the wall. So they're like, fine, we'll play by these rules, but we're not going to go above and beyond for you. And that's kind of the same thing here, where these enforcers, they're like, we're up against the wall waiting on your orders. So fine, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to go above and beyond and try to do anything else. Now, Kunozuka, girl tries to, because she's amazing, but I don't blame the enforcers in this case for just doing their jobs. That's all they're told to do, and they kind of just are in place within the system, right? But this whole scene where he gets them naked and is talking about indoctrinating them and like just beating the shit out of them until they all bleed and like crushes their skull in, that was disturbing. This whole episode, the violence of it was disturbing. Absolutely terrifying. And because of how real it is, like it was oof. And the thing that's so frustrating is all this stuff is happening inside that warehouse, inside that facility. All of this stuff is happening. People are dying. There's blood being spattered. People are stressing out, freaking out. And they're just like, let's request some assistance. Like, because that's the way the system works. And it's absolutely terrifying, right? It reminded me when they're sitting out there watching this literal car crash happen, and they're not doing anything. They're like, let's just request some assistance and see what they say, rather than going in and solving the problem, because that's how the system has been designed. All I could think about was my mother got rear-ended years ago. She got rear-ended by these people. They were like, the guy fell asleep at the wheel, rear-ended her, and she was like, hey, and right about the time when the incident happened, everybody was okay. There were no injuries, but it caused a lot of damage to her vehicle. And right about the time this happened, there was a police officer coming home. And this is a true story. The police officer stopped and was like, yep, this is this. And my mother was like, so clearly we need to write a ticket because I need documentation of this for my insurance and all of this. And the officer was like, well, I'm off the clock now. And he didn't write them a ticket because he's like, well, technically I'm off the clock in the system. I'm not going to do it. And that happened. And she had, her insurance had to go through a lot of extra hoops. It ended up being okay. She got her vehicle fixed. Those people were fine. It all worked out in the end. But it was just the idea that there are individuals who are so keen to operate within the system that they're involved in, they won't go any inch outside of it, even if it's the right thing to do. And I was like, oh, so as soon as this happened, I'm like, that's exactly what this is. Everyone in this episode, with the exception of like Akane there at the end, everyone in this episode is just, all they're doing is functioning. They're functioning within the Sybil system. And what it results in is a whole lot of death that was unnecessary. Unnecessary. It's a whole bunch of death that was not warranted or needed to happen. But that's what happens. So yeah, they request some assistance, and they're like, we're sidelined without an inspector present. It's like, that's just how this system... What I like about this episode, as frustrating as it is everything that happens in it has been prefaced in season 1. It was all set up that, Division 1 kind of has been the rebel division from the start. They've been the ones going against Sybil System and doing their own thing, and it just happens to work out for them because Sybil System is interested in Akane. That's really the only reason. But Division 2 and 3, they don't have that luxury of having someone that's teaching a literal deity how to do things. So they are all trying to function within the system, and it's so frustrating because you see how flawed it is. And you see how it could have been handled, and then you see how it is handled, and you're like, well, what the fudge? Right? So yeah, they're like, well, we had to wait until an inspector shows up. And so then it's like, I'll handle the request. Yeah. So what do we have there? Akane's like, yeah, thanks, Mika, for handling this request. And Mika's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I'll go handle it. I'm sure people who got trapped inside have just panicked. And I'm like, first is her assumption that it's something simple. When it's like, no, you should treat this case as being serious, especially with all that's going on. And Mika's like, no, I got this. It's fine. And Akane's like, given everything that's going on, are we sure it's just something simple? And Mika's like, don't worry about it. I got this. She's like, do you think it's too overwhelming for me? And then it turns out to be too overwhelming for her. That's exactly what happens. And I like that Ganosa's just in the background. Ganosa's in the background like, I could say a lot of things, but I'm going to let these ladies work it out. I do appreciate that. Ganosa is not out here to mansplain anybody. It's another one of his redeeming features. He's not going to mansplain you. He's just going to let you work it out. And he's going to be like, you guys have this covered. We're all good. I'm just a measly little enforcer. Don't mind me. And then, of course, Mika, her problem is she tries to rub salt in the wound because girl was big dog on art school campus. And she's trying to rub salt in the wound and prove that she's like in the right more than Akane. And I'm like, girl, you're not. And I think she realizes it this episode. Or if she hasn't, she's about to get a dose. Because she's like, I'm sure you're pleased now that someone else has mentioned Kamui, aren't you? And she's like, no, it's the opposite. Akane throws such tea and shade in that moment. Because Kamui's like, well, I bet you're pleased now that people are saying that your ghost exists. And Akane's like, no, because that means people are going to die. So, bitch, no. You think I'm that petty? Like, I love that Akane's like, I am not that petty to want a ghost existence proven at the expense of lives, girl. We're inspectors. What do you think this is? This ain't high school. They were adults. And Mika gets so frustrating in that regard because she's just a kid and she doesn't, it's like, girl, this ain't the same. This is not the same. But man, I feel like Mika's going to get a hard lesson soon. So, oof. And she's like, be careful. I like that Kane just has to have the last word. And she's like, just be careful. And Mika's like, well, you sure are confident. And I'm like, girl, you don't even know the half of it. And so then Ganosa's like, why would Ayanagi go to a mental care facility of all places? Like, and she's like, well, I don't know. They don't realize that Shizui had called her in, right? She doesn't realize that. And the thing that's frustrating is you would expect Ayanagi to maybe have told someone what the situation was. But here's the thing. If they had called Division 2 and talked to the enforcers, they would have found that out. But Mika took on the task. So they didn't get to do that, right? So instead they take on the interrogation. Make note. Togani is in the background. Togani's in the background. So the question is, did Togani slip this guy some of the hue alterating drugs before they got there? You would think that'd be caught on camera, so probably not. But why is this guy feigning ignorance now that they've brought him here and they can interrogate him? Why? He clearly was spouting off nonsense like 5 minutes ago, so why does it matter now? They have him documented, right? That he was saying these things, so why deny it now? Is it because Togani's there? And he told him not to? And he's like, you want us to call Kamui in? And she's like, you relied on somebody named Kamui. Where did you make contact? And then he's got nothing to say. My thing is, it reminded me a lot of Monster. This isn't a spoiler for Monster, but in that series, one of the characters tells another character, they say, the best way to be the most frustrating during an interrogation is to stay calm and say nothing. If you're going to make your interrogators the most frustrated, just stay calm and don't say a thing. And that's what Masuda is doing in here. But I think it's interesting that Togani doesn't really say much in this scene. Togani just kind of lurks in the background watching. And he has his back to them the whole time. My suspicions of Togani continue, and it's so bizarre. And I do love that this series has a lot of reflection. like characters with glasses. We've seen like the chief, we've seen Mika and Akane reflected through the glasses that the chief has. And now we look at Masada and we see Akane reflected through his glasses. Trying to say some subtle symbolism there of like your reflection and what you think of yourselves and your projection. Meanwhile, poor Ayanagi, girl had some great taste in lingerie, but oof. Best dressed woman in the room, and here we go. But yeah, the guy with the nail gun. And the duffel bag. The duffel bag was interesting at the beginning of this scene because I thought for a second it was Ayanagi's, but then I was like, why is that duffel bag there? What's the point? But this guy with the nail gun, I'm like, he was Kamui the whole time. I love it. It's like a Saw twist, right? I love it. I don't Saw the Saw movies. I've only seen the first two. The second movie terrified me, but I'm like, He's like, he ordered me to do it. And then it's just absolutely awful. But the Dominator being held there, I mean, like, this is terrible. And then the guy, so the question is, the guy raises the nail gun. Is he acting and being Kamui? Or was Kamui like someone else in the room? We don't know. Because she says don't do it. She's like, don't do it. Your crime coefficient will go up. And you hate it because Ayanagi's trying to save them all. She tries to take the brunt of it herself and is like, don't you take on this. I'll make sure to get him. It's okay. Trust me. I'm going to save them all because it's my job. The salvation of Job. I didn't know if it was supposed to be like Job, like the biblical character of Job. And we talk about salvation. I feel like there's a connection there. My internet is out, so I can't look it up. So I'm like, damn it. But I might try to for next week, look up Job and salvation and talk about it in next episode. But yeah, so then Mika shows up, right, in the situation. They're like, we don't know what's going on inside, but there's a lot of stress levels. And Mika is by the book, right? And you can't blame her because Akane was by the book at the start of last season as well. But here's the thing. Akane last season from the start was playing the system. Like she would like manipulate the reports or talk Ganosa into doing things for her. She'd be like, but we're doing it because of this reason. Like her sense of justice at the end of the day aligns with Sybil. But the way that she'd go about her investigations, she knew how to play the game and play the system while still being in the system. Whereas Mika is like so rigidly textbook because that's all she knows and all she can go off of, that she's like, well, before we take action, we have to pinpoint the cause of the stress. Well, how are you going to know that? You're outside and they're inside. How are you going to know? If we carelessly release them, the situation might get worse, which is true. And it does happen that way. And they're like, so we have to find a way to make contact inside. And he's like, well, we know where the stress check is, but we don't know, it's over the emergencies threshold. Everyone there would be target for enforcement. And I like that Mika looks a little bit surprised, like, oh shit, it's really gotten bad. This is not good. So then we go back to Saiga, who has his little cactus plant there, his little prickly cactus. And he's drinking his coffee, and she's like, someone else mentioned his name, and there's a part missing from one of the drones, which seems suspicious. And I like that Saiga's like, so you're trying to break through the devil's proof. Is that what you're implying? And she's like, the man we brought inside is hiding something. Like, she's just keeping him updated on what's going out. And she's like, Professor, come on, can you help me with this? But we don't know how, so we don't find out that. That was a really good transition from him, like, pushing up his glasses to the guy with glasses being lifted up and being killed. That was a good transition. Not good what's happening to him. But I'm going to be interested to know what Saiga says to her if we find out next episode, what he says to her about the situation. And then, yeah, the glasses are broken and he just is beating him. And then he takes, the oxygen. So the guy there helps her escape, helps her get out of the handcuffs, which is good. And then she takes the nail gun and hits the dog, right? Now, the thing of it is, she's able to use the nail gun on the dog because the dog's not a person. But then she goes with the Dominator, and Ayanagi is still trying to play things by the book. And Kamui is making note that, that's not going to work anymore. And Kamui was also trying to figure out that you can kill an inspector with the Dominator. So he's trying to figure out how the Dominator works, what the levels of it are, what the limits are with it, and he didn't know you could kill an enforcer with it, so that's bad. I mean, it should be obvious you can kill an inspector with it, but that's bad that he knows that. Now, the question is, I mean, her crime coefficient was through the roof, so of course it allowed them to kill her. I don't feel like Akane's in danger because she's the main character, but also because her crime coefficient never rises high enough to do anything about it. But maybe he's going to try to manipulate it. I don't know. And so then, yeah, okay, so Saiga comes back and says, okay, so this representative, he experienced a clouding in his hue before giving his speech. And you're certain of that? And she's like, yes. After the speech, we took him into custody. So that happened. And he's like, so it's often the case that this person's hue will consistently worsen under like circumstances. So look in the days he gave speeches over the past several months and see if there's like a connection. And his phone records too. And that's when they find out in the phone records there's an unknown caller that they can't trace. So it's like, again, it's just coincidence that there's an unknown caller in the registry. But Akane's like, in this specific special circumstance, that unknown caller is huge because it's just further backing up their assumption about Kamui. And so then she says, you're just a lazy, latent criminal. Aonagi does. Like, be judged where you stand. And the crime coefficient for him doesn't work, but for the other guy, it's even higher. And the thing that's so scary is that she's having her entire viewpoint called into question, like Akane had with Mikishima in the last season, right? Same thing. And so then they're like, oh, there's a Dominator being used. So that means that, by that logic, a Dominator being turned on means that there's possibly a reason for enforcement. And so, like, there's a target for enforcement inside. And the guy tells Mika, he's like, what should we do? And she says nothing. And I like that Kunozuka's like, Kunozuka slowly, like, turns to Mika, like, what do you mean we do nothing? She's like, we're going to wait for contact from Inspector Aonagi. I'm like, but if we act on our own and something goes wrong, it's on our shoulders. That's the thing. That is the thing with Mika. She does not want responsibility or blame. Mika does not want her crime coefficient going up. Mika is like Ganosa from last season, where she is terrified of the concept that her crime coefficient will go up. The big difference is that I feel like Ganosa still did things. He just, his crime coefficient went up. But he still did things. But Mika is so bound and determined to function within the rules of the Sybil system that she's like, no. She's like, until Inspector Aonagi gives us orders, we're not going to do anything. And I'm like, but she has her Dominator on, so clearly there's a problem. How do you know her communication isn't jammed? How do you know that this isn't happening? Don't you think you should? Mika is not being an inspector in this moment. She's just being a yes man, a drone. She's being as functional as the little drones that show up on the crime scene. She's not doing anything that's human at this point. She is acting just like a little robot would and not act outside of the system, which I'm sure Sybil System's happy about. But she's like, if something goes wrong, it's going to be on our shoulders. And so then Togeni's like, okay, we received analysis from the lab saying they identified the device that Masuda was contacting one day before each of his speeches. And Masuda has a reaction to that. And she's like, well, who was the user? And they're like, they don't know. The device is at a mental care facility in Shibuya, which is where Kamui is and where Aonagi and them is. I would feel if I was Akane, I would bring that up to Sybil System, being like, hey, in your perfect flawless system with surveillance, how can you not detect who this caller is? Doesn't that, if I were Akane, I would be trying to manipulate Sybil System to helping me find Kamui. I would be doing that. I would be like, but Sybil System, you're supposed to be infallible and you can detect anything, but there's this unknown caller you can't find. Don't you think we ought to find out who that is? Otherwise, your system is, not infallible and has an error or a weakness. If I was Akane, I'd be manipulating the shit out of Sybil, or at least trying to get them to help find the caller. That's what I would be doing. And maybe Akane is going to do that in the next episode when she's like, hey, you know, there's some stuff happening under your radar that you're not detecting. Don't you think we should find that out? And then, of course, that's where she's like, that means that Kamui is there with her. Yep. Oh, but she's, again, there's a part of me that's like, girl, I'm like, Ayanagi, you should have backed away from that guy. You should have ran. But you know what? Fight or flight. In this moment, she's having everything about her life questioned and everything's crashing down. So she just like freezes in shock, and he takes that out. I also want to make note, when he throws her, there are two mosaics. There's a red mosaic and a blue mosaic, and she crashes through the red mosaic. I'm like, is this like the Matrix where it's the red pill versus the blue pill? And she chose to take the red pill and stay in the false reality. I feel like there's some symbolism there. Feel like it. But God, this episode's so bloody. It's ridiculous. Like just how bloody and horrible it is. And so Mika tries to contact her, and then he like lets it drop. And that's when he gets on the speaker and talks about the suppression with the drugs. And she's like, what is going on? And these people are all going crazy and throwing up and freaking out. And he's like, those who have all their stress taken away by erroneous medication. And then we have like phenochrome and medferal, and we have the 2 doses there on the table. And she's like, son of a bitch, like Ayanagi waking up, Ustus Deficiency. And he's like, I feel numb inside and don't respond to stimuli. And I thought about giving up on my own life before we see Kamui show up to save him. So yeah. So here's the thing. What's so fascinating in this moment is that Mika's like, Ustus Deficiency, that urban legend. And then I like that Mika is like so against the idea, because the concept of shared psychosis is as illogical as the possibility of Kamui existing. I'm like, people can't share telepathic thoughts and feelings about something. No, come on now, shared psychosis. But what got me was that she says there, she's like, oh, and he's bringing up a stupid urban legend like Ustus Deficiency. And Hinakawa's like, an urban legend? So either that means one of two things. One, either Hinakawa has no clue about Ustus Deficiency and doesn't know what it is, or Hinakawa believes that it is a thing and is like, what do you mean urban legend? It's real. The irony of all this is that Mika was in the same academy last season as the girl whose father supposedly suffered from Ustus Deficiency, and that's why she did all the murders and joined Mikishima, were under those guises. So I don't know if Mika knows that, if Mika is aware of that case and knows that that's all connected, because I don't even know if Akane and them know it's all connected. Here's the thing. As far as the motives of the artist, of her motives, Mikishima knew the motives and we, the audience, know the motives. But does anybody else know? I don't think so. And so it's so interesting to see this concept of this disease tying together Mika and that girl to this case. And Mika is denying its existence when the whole reason everything surrounding her friend's death happened was because the artist believed in its existence. So I'm like, oh my God, it just makes you just like want to scream, right? She's like, an urban legend. And then I like the one guy's like, did you hear back from the inspector? And she's like, no, even though she was online at one point, I did not hear back. And Kunazuka's like, hey, couldn't the man we have heard just restrained everybody? We should subdue and rescue them right away. I love that Kunazuka's like, hey, instead of sitting here on our asses doing nothing, what if we went with what we were being told and like acted on it? What if we did that? And Mika's like, but no one's called for anything like that. Like, she's just waiting for, it's like you're sitting there with a literal ambulance and there's someone inside that you know could be bleeding, but you're like, until they call 911, I think we're just going to sit here and wait and see what happens. I'm like, oh girl. I feel like Akane might give her a come to Jesus meeting, but I don't know. Especially if Ayanagi died, because poor Ganosa. We'll talk about that. So then I like that Akane gets a hold of Hinakawa. She's like, I'm not even going to talk to Mika. That's pointless. But the real point of it in contacting Hinakawa is that she wants him to look around for anyone with a hollow. And it's the one with the hollow is inside the facility. So, of course, Hinakawa doesn't see them, right? And the thing about it is that Mika calls him out. And Mika's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm the one in charge, not her. I'm like, Mika is not only, I'm like, you both are inspectors, first of all. But Mika's having this power trip, and she doesn't want Akane butting in. But I'm like, it literally, you're standing there doing nothing. What is it going to hurt for Hinakawa to do his job and look around for a hollow? And that's when Division 3 shows up. So it's cool seeing Division 3. We've got this one guy. He kind of looks like the alien ant farm man mixed with Togane. He just got his hair slicked back. I like the guy with the yellow glasses. He's an inspector too. And then we have a guy in a yellow raincoat that's an enforcer. The enforcers get to wear all the cool, colorful clothing, right? But we have the enforcer with the yellow rain jacket. There's like a guy in beige. There's a girl in like magenta. There's a guy that looks he has a big trench coat, looks really cool with the yellow tie. I feel like Division 3's color is yellow because 3 of the characters are wearing yellow. They're yellow and beige. But then they're like, hey, we're taking over from here. Follow our instructions. And so here's the problem. The reason why Division 3 has to step in is, one, Division 2's inspectors inside. The 2 enforcers for Division 2 can't do anything. So Division 2 is null and void. Mika is not doing a damn thing, and she's not utilizing the enforcers in any way, shape, or form like she should. So the chief's like, you know what? She's not doing her job, and she's pretty lame, so I'm going to send you guys in, and you guys will do exactly as I say. And they do. And she's like, the chief had us come in. And so the chief, and I like the chief has all of the monitors pulled up, and she's like, yes, that's right. Scatter the crowd and don't let any media organizations. The chief's like, look, this situation's going to get out of hand. And we're going to have these people probably coming out. We're going to have to kill them because we can't let anybody know what happened here. We can't let the media in. We can't let anybody know what's going on. So Division 1 is being useless right now. So we're going to send in Division 3 to get the job done. The Sybil system's terrifying. I feel like Akane's got to like level up with her, with Kasai next episode and be like, whatever. And again, the Ustus Deficiency, the groundless delusion cannot be spread because the Sybil system is convinced that its society is perfect or its society will be a utopia. So of course, if you have a system that believes it's perfect, suggesting there's a bug in the system, it's going to be like, no, are you kidding? No, we don't have that. We're perfect. What are you talking about? So the idea of the deficiency would be a source of the Sybil system being like, oh, we can't have that rumor spreading because if people know that, it's gonna break the system. So we have to keep that all contained. And honestly, Akane and them haven't really dealt with the Ustus Deficiency yet. Mikishima brought it up last season, and that was kind of one of his big motivators against the Sybil system, which seems to be Kamui's as well. But none of the Division 1 people seem to understand that or know about it. So that's going to be interesting to see if it gets brought up. And so, yep. And so they figure out that in each situation, an inspector has been isolated from their team. And that's been how Kamui has been able to get the Dominator and all this. And again, we cut to Togane in the back seat, just sitting there watching, being like, wow, she's figuring it out. And he's like, is Kamui targeting inspectors? And she's like, well, that would make sense. He wants to get the Dominators, figure out how they work. The thing about it is, if Kamui figures out how the Dominators work and can manipulate the Dominators outside of Sybil, that's a game changer. That's gonna wreck the whole system. If he can kill with the Dominator, regardless of hue, regardless of the number, that's gonna change everything. And that's gonna wreck the whole system from within, right? And he's a tech guy. He knows holotech. So can we put it past him to be able to do that experimentation and do that, tech? I don't know. And she's kind of on it. Akane is so close to figuring it out because she's like, well, did Kamui shoot Yamamoto? He did, but he was doing it using Shisui. And that's when Ganosa's like, now come on, you don't have any proof of that. Now you're getting a little bit off track. Your psychopath is going to get clouded. And she's like, Ganosa, you know that's not going to happen. So we think. And she's like, a ghost. Mm-hmm. So then, okay. So they're like, okay, they're going to commence this operation. They have the hacker who, has the glasses and everything. And then they're going through the vents and everything, turning off the vents, turning off the power. And then that's when she is like, I am an inspector. Ayanagi. And she doesn't kill him. She like slashes his face. But her saying, I'm an inspector, it's almost like she's telling herself, like, I'm going to do this to save these people because that's my job. But it's like she's trying to like maybe reinforce her hue or keep herself sane by saying that she has to do this for this reason. Oh my God. But he's like, the stress level is getting out of control. And that's when Akane's like, Kamui is trying to learn how to use a Dominator, which is a problem. Because, yeah, the thing about it is Mikishima, I like that we're getting a little bit of difference here between Kamui and Mikishima, because Mikishima didn't care about the technology that the enforcers were using. His was trying to, like, on a mass scale, uproot the Sybil system, like, from a big perspective. Kamui is trying to do it, like, on an individual level. Like, we're not going to try to uproot the whole system as a whole. That's too big of a goal. We're going to make cracks in the foundation and then let it collapse within itself. And he's like, I just need to figure out how to use one Dominator, and I can wreck this whole thing from within. Like that. So, if being surrounded by the Bureau is part of his design, he wants someone else to pull the trigger. Yeah, he wants someone else to pull the trigger and use the Dominator because he can't do it himself yet. And so then we have this damn sniper rifle. And so the crime coefficient, there's 2 crime coefficients, right? One is 287, one is 343. And, okay, so hers, I'm assuming hers is the 287 one, and his is the 343. I'm curious which one it was. The thing about the sniper rifle that is terrifying is that it takes, like, the decision making is gone. Because here's the thing, like, if you're focusing the Dominator, it had a radius to where it worked, right? So you had to be up close and personal with the target. So that would allow you to talk down the target, like Akane did in episode 1. She was like, hey, I'm going to talk you down off this ledge. We're going to get that crime coefficient to go down, and then I'm going to stun you, and then we're not going to have a problem, okay? And it made that communication necessary, right? It made that communication necessary in order for it to work. The sniper rifle, you are nowhere near that person. So you have no clue the circumstance. You have no clue the situation. There's no negotiation. You just snipe them and they're dead. And the guy was like, and when he's like, who did you shoot? And he's like, I don't know. I just shot the highest crime coefficient. Didn't even check to see if it was the inspector. Didn't even see. That wasn't his job. His job was just to diffuse the situation. Function within the Sybil system. We don't care who it was. They're a latent criminal. They're a latent criminal. And it's just like, oh my God, no. This makes things even worse. I'm like, oh God, no. And then, yeah, it recognizes her. Okay, so the thing about it is she had the ability, she had the Dominator on, but she was trying to, like, get it to where she's like, in order to protect the law and the citizens. Okay, so she was on that end. She was the one that had the higher crime coefficient than him. And that's why she was targeted and died. Son of a bitch. Uh-huh. And Kamui just staring there as the attendant. Yep. And notice he didn't come out. Yeah. And then the guy's like, oh, it's the new armament, the Assault Dominator. It's a freaking sniper rifle. What? I was looking on eBay because we were talking about, like, they have, like, the special 10th edition of the Dominators. They're like $1,000. They like do the action and everything. They're really cool. I'm not spending $1,000 for a Dominator. No. But there was one, like, on eBay that was like a prop, like, for cosplay and stuff, and it was only like $60 to $80. I'm like, that's more realistic. It's still a lot, but that's more realistic. I don't know how much this thing would be. If that thing exists, I don't know how much that would be. What the fudge? But yeah. She's like, well, and they're like, well, it went extremely well. And she's like, and that's when they're like, well, it went extremely well. They diffused the situation. And I love that Kunazuka, like, she's like, you think something that elevates the stress of those inside is a good thing? I love Kunazuka's like, so you mean to tell me that it's great we had to kill somebody? Spouting truth bombs, Kunazuka. Spouting truth bombs, girl. I'm with you. I'm with you. And then Mika's like, Kunazuka. And they're like, I'm just following orders. Again, that's the point. They're just following orders. They're not thinking about anything else. And they're like, is the one you shot the culprit? And they're like, I don't know. I just shot the one with the higher crime coefficient. Oh. Oh. And then these people all start to come out, crawling out, and they're like, oh, they're all targets for reinforcement. So they got to go. And they're just all coming at them, and they're like, yep. And then we're just doing the job. And that's all there is to it. And Mika's like, we can't do anything. We have nothing to do with it. And in that moment where Mika's having like a panic attack and she's like, we're kind of useless at this point, I felt like Kunozuko wanted to slap her. I felt like Kunozuko was going to be like, girl, you mean to tell me we aren't going to do shit? And that's when Akane and Ganosa pop up and they're like, what'd we miss? What'd we miss? What, did y'all just sit here and do nothing all episode? Oh, hey. And Akane is pissed. Akane is like, are you joking? Like, what happened here? What are you doing? What are you doing? But then there's the guy, right? And that's when the one guy like ends up coming out. So that's okay. So his eye got slashed. And that's when Kamui's like, okay, inspectors can be judged by dominators too. Thanks. We can move one step forward. And he just pieces out. So I'm like, because we never saw the attendant come out with the scrubs on. So was that him? And he's just like, okay, bye. While they're shooting these people. And here's the thing. You would question, you're like, well, why didn't they immediately go in after that guy? But I'm sure Connie at this moment is like, what are we doing? He's in there. What's happening? But his crime coefficient was still high enough at the end where they could shoot him, right? He's like, what color am I now? The color left is green and blue. The two colors left are greens and blues, which are usually good colors. And the colors that have been wiped out are red. And the blood is all red. So... And Kamui at this point just took his time making the little WC in blood. Why not? He's like, I'm different now. I've done all I can. He's like, you can change the world. And that's when he gets blown up. So clearly the crime coefficient going down is only temporary, maybe? Can you see it? The color of the blood we shed. And then Ganosa's like, surely it's not Ayanagi. Ugh. Ganosa, dude, I feel for you so much. And then there's the stupid... And that's when Togani's like, look, there's what color? And it's directed towards society. Sybil, what color are you? And he has like the scar on the side of his face, so I don't know what Kamui's scar... Here's the thing. At the end of the episode, Kamui, like... he has this appearance on his face like he's this tragic victim that's been wronged by the civil system. And I'm like, but dude, you just like caused a massacre. Are you kidding? I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, blah, blah. So much to question. Oh, and I've talked for nearly an hour. R.I.P. Ayanagi. Girl, I would have regrets too, not getting to be with Ganosa before I fell. I would have regrets. #regrets. So Togani was still a little suspicious. The tie-in with Kamui and his mission seems more interesting. And again, recognizing it is interesting symbolically that the color red is like a warning sign within the Sybil system, but it's also the color of human blood and like the life force of a human. So there's a tie-in with that that's kind of interesting. But this whole episode showing the hypocrisy within the system and the fatal flaws within it too. If you didn't know it from season 1, here's a nice little reminder. Mika needs to come to Jesus meeting for her own sanity, so I'm curious what we're going to get with that. And how Akane is going to address Chief Kasai in this whole Division 3 business. So, we'll see. But in the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with more Psychopaths. Bye.